Hey guys, my name is Vishal and today we are talking about the iPhone 13 mini. In this video I want to summarize my findings after having used the iPhone 13 mini as my daily driver for the last week. So overall, the iPhone 13 mini is a fantastic phone. It's fast, it's responsive, and it has pretty good performance thanks to the A15 Bionic chipset. But this is all to be expected. I mean, it's basically the iPhone 13 just in a smaller, more compact form factor. Now what does this mean? Well, it means that there aren't a lot of differences between the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 mini. However, there are a couple of key areas that are directly affected by the smaller size of the iPhone 13 mini. And in this video, I want to talk to you guys about some of the highlights and some of the lowlights of the iPhone 13 mini, and I also want to compare it to the results that we saw with the iPhone 13, starting with the battery. So the battery is one of the key pillars of mobile phones, and with good reason. Battery capacities are important because you want to get the most out of your devices without having to charge them multiple times a day. Now unfortunately, because of the smaller size of the iPhone 13 mini, it doesn't have as large of a battery as, say, the iPhone 13 does. Now I'll put the battery capacities on the screen right now, but I really want to show you guys what this means and how it affects your use of the mini. Now, like I did with my iPhone 13, I conducted 3 sets of tests on the mini, which focused on gaming, video playback, and daily use. And the results were interesting. In my gaming test, I played a total of 5 games. I played each of these games until I lost 20% of battery life, and then I switched to the next game, and so on until my phone died. And right away, I noticed much faster battery degradation on the iPhone 13 mini than I did on my iPhone 13, especially when it came to the higher intensity games. Now that being said, I was kind of surprised by the end result, and at the end of the day, the iPhone 13 mini lasted around 5.5 hours, which was a little more than I expected it to, especially based on how fast the battery was depleting from my gaming session. The next test was focused on video playback, and between YouTube and Netflix, I managed to squeeze out about 9 hours of content on the iPhone 13 mini. But are you actually going to be spending 9 hours a day on Netflix and YouTube on your iPhone 13 mini? Well, chances are you're probably not, and that's what brings us to our next set of tests, the daily use tests. Now in this set of tests, I basically used the iPhone 13 mini as I would in a regular day, and I did this over the course of 5 days. Now the goal here was to see how the battery would fare just with general use over these 5 days, and the results were very good. Now between content streaming, video recording, social media, gaming, and browsing, I managed to get about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time and had about 20% of battery remaining at the end of the day. So how does that compare to the iPhone 13? Well, the iPhone 13 lasted about 1.5 hours longer during gaming, it lasted about 3 hours longer during video playback, and I had very similar screen on times between the 13 and the mini of 6 to 7 hours, but the 13 actually had 30% of battery remaining at the end of the day rather than 20, which we saw on the iPhone 13 mini. So overall, the iPhone 13 mini battery just didn't last as long as the 13, and I honestly never expected that it would. The more important thing is just how close the mini was to the battery of the iPhone 13. Now, if you're going to be doing epic gaming marathons or are going to be doing a lot of video recording, you're going to need a way to keep your phone charged, but that's going to be true for the mini as it is for the 13. So yeah, overall, the iPhone 13 mini battery just isn't as good as the iPhone 13, but honestly, if you're an average user and you used iPhones from the mini lineup before, it's not something you're going to notice, and you might actually notice you have a little bit more battery on the newest iPhone 13 mini than you did on your previous versions. Next, let's talk about the all-new camera system. So just like the iPhone 13, the mini comes with the wide and ultra-wide cameras on the back, and these use Apple's sensor ShiftOIS technology, which improves image stabilization when you're taking pictures and videos. Now this should mean that you're going to get better image quality even when you're not using a tripod or stand of some sort. Now in addition to this, the cameras have also gotten larger on the back, which is very apparent on the mini because it is so small. Now unfortunately, this doesn't come with an increase in camera quality because both of these cameras are still 12 megapixels with very limited mechanical zoom capabilities. However, the front camera has gotten an upgrade, moving to a sharper 12 megapixel image quality, and it really looks the part. Now, we've had to put up with the notch for so long, and I'm glad that Apple's finally making it somewhat worthwhile by having this camera upgrade. And in addition to this, there are 2 new features that make this year's camera system the best that we've ever seen on iPhone. The first are photographic modes, and these fundamentally change the way that you take pictures on your iPhone. It's kind of like adding a filter on top of an existing image, however, it's built right into the camera system. So now you can set your photographic styles, whether it's an increased contrast to your images or having a warmer or cooler image. And you can set it and kind of forget about it until you need to change it. It will stay that way until you decide to change it. The second feature is cinematic mode. This feature lets you add cinema level blur on your videos, kind of like portrait mode does for photos, but this is for video. Now, I have been able to play around with some of the aperture settings to make the shots look good in some cases, but overall the system is kind of buggy. Now, like I said, one of the cool things you can do is change the aperture settings to increase or decrease the level of blur that you have on your shot, and this helps make some shots look pretty good when you're using cinematic mode. Overall, this year's camera system is fantastic, and Apple's been able to implement it on the iPhone 13 mini without really any compromises from the iPhone 13. And I think that's a huge win for all you mini users out there. Next, let's talk about the front display. This year's display, similar to last year's, has the same ceramic shield front glass. It has an oleophobic coating to reduce fingerprints, as well as the same pixel quality. Now, I'm not going to show you the integrity of the front glass by breaking it, but I can say that the oleophobic coating is working to reduce the number of fingerprints on the front screen. Now, in addition to this, there are 2 changes that have made their way onto this year's iPhone update regarding the front display. One is the brightness, and the iPhone 13 mini can go all the way up to 1200 nits of brightness when using HDR, although it can only go up to 800 nits of brightness when not using HDR. The next big change on the front is the notch. And Apple says it's about 20% smaller compared to previous iPhones, but it looks a lot closer to 40% smaller. Now, unfortunately, because of the smaller size of the iPhone 13 mini, the change in the notch size isn't as noticeable on this phone as it was on the iPhone 13. It still takes up a considerable amount of room on the iPhone 13 mini, but again, it's something that we've already kind of learned to live with. And now that Apple's also released laptops with a notch, it's probably something that's going to, stay for a little while. Now, with that being said, I did notice a few things that either need some improvement or that I just didn't personally like on the iPhone 13 mini. Now, I've talked about a lot of these in my iPhone 13 review, but a lot of them still do apply to the iPhone 13 mini. For instance, the iPhone 13 mini still has the very easy to scratch aluminum bands, as well as the fact that when you put down the iPhone face up like this, that it tends to rest on the lenses, which can't really be good for them, right? Now, I know this can be very easily fixed with just a simple case, but it's something that you guys should know. Now, apart from these, the biggest downside for me about the iPhone 13 mini was just the size. Now, I'm someone who's gotten used to the size of an iPhone XS or an iPhone 13 because it's something that I've used for years. And I thought I'd get used to the size of the iPhone 13 mini while I was doing my testing, but it still felt really awkward to use. It was small in the hands, it was small to hold. The keyboard was small enough that I made more typing mistakes than I usually do, and the gaming experience wasn't great. Now, I didn't see a whole lot of difference when I was just watching videos or just day-to-day use, and I would probably get used to it after a little while of extended use. But I'm glad that we have the option to choose between the 2 different sizes, and for now, I'd probably stick with a slightly larger phone. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. If you guys learned something about the new iPhone 13 mini or are planning to get it, let me know down in the comment section below. If you guys liked today's video, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content like this. And also, let me know if you guys have any recommendations of any tech that you guys want to see on this channel, and I will try to make that happen. Now, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and thank you guys for all the support that you've provided on the channel so far. And I will see you guys in the next video.